I'm going to jump right in with a story. There's this guy on an airplane. He's looking out the window. He notices that his flight is heading towards some dark and ominous weather, and suddenly there's this bright flash and all of the lights are extinguished. I'm just realizing I probably shouldn't have a cartoon for this story. The passengers are sort of left sitting in complete darkness, and the plane is shuddering and pitching. And after a few minutes, the ride gets a little smoother, and the pilot comes over the speaker system and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news and some bad news. First, the bad news. We've just passed through a considerable storm system, and our plane was struck by lightning. The strike knocked out all of our navigation systems, so we're not quite sure where we are, and we're not quite sure in which direction we are headed. But the good news is, while I don't really know where we're headed and where we are, with this storm, we've got this heck of a tailwind, so wherever we're headed, we're going to get there twice as fast." This is important because if you don't know where you're going, if there is any uncertainty, how are you ever going to get there? You don't even know where there is. So welcome, everybody. My name's Michael Mills. I'm one of the founders of Business Design Corporation and the TouchStone Business System. Just a very brief introduction to our company. We were a group of master certified eMyth consultants for 17 years. We delivered Michael Gerber's eMyth mastery program to many hundreds and hundreds of businesses. One of the processes we delivered was called the strategic objective. And this key concept will be familiar to many of you as it takes up an entire chapter in Michael's book, The eMyth Revisited, and many of you have probably read that book. But what we found was that while we were delivering great theory, very few of our mastery clients were actually putting the work on paper, getting the work done. They didn't complete their strategic objective, and they failed to get their procedures and job descriptions documented, which in our minds was the very point of the program. So we went about working on a way to make eMyth theory practical, to create a simpler way for systemizing a business, a way to put eMyth theory into practice. We've helped systemize hundreds and hundreds of businesses, and to assist with this process, we developed a web-based application, the TouchStone Business System. Many of you are clients and subscribers to the TouchStone Business System. It's really a tool that makes it easier to consistently document operating procedures and implement them in your business. And I'm actually going to showcase TouchStone today in parts of this presentation, because as some of you are TouchStone subscriber, all of the procedures, all of the strategic planning procedures that I'm going to be discussing are in the General Systems library. And I'll show you how to access these tools from the library and how to create and edit them in your own TouchStone application. And for those of you who are not TouchStone subscribers, not to worry. I've pushed all of these documented procedures out to Word documents and PDF files, so you can get them if you like. And if you're interested, because you're here today, you have a chance to actually take TouchStone for a 30-day free trial. And in fact, if you do that, you can access all of these tools. You can download them to your own computer. You can even cancel your subscription after the 30-day trial. And I say that tongue-in-cheek. You can actually do that if you want. You can access all of our tools and quit, but no one has actually ever done that because they really find that the TouchStone application is fairly useful once they get started. I'm going to break today's presentation down into 3 parts. In the first section, I want to talk about context. I want to land a key concept. You need to know why it is so important, so incredibly valuable to you and to your business to have a strategic plan, that if you don't have one, chances are you'll never achieve your dream. If you don't understand the value, there's not much point in continuing. In the second part of the presentation, we're going to go into the how. How do you figure out what you want? How much detail? How to make some assumptions? How to keep your plan dynamic yet stable? See, things change. The economy changes. You learn things you didn't know before you started. You may add some products and services. You may discard some products and services, your offerings, and that's okay. You still need to come up with a plan. You need to make it clear, and you need to communicate it and then review it on an annual basis. Change is going to happen. In the third part, we'll talk about how you'll use your plan. If you're going to make the effort, and it's not that hard, mind you, how will you put it to use? So let's start with value, why you need a strategic plan. We speak to thousands of business owners every year, and if I ask any one of them how they see their business 5 to 7 years from now, I almost always get this rather vague answer. I want to get bigger, most will say. Bigger is not a vision. Your vision must have more definition. It must be clear and it must be measurable. What is your company going to look like, say, 5 to 7 years from now? It doesn't have to be exact. As I said before, things can and will change, but you must make some assumptions and you must put in place the actions to achieve these assumed goals, and you must monitor and track the progress that you're making. So you'll answer questions such as, what products or services will I be offering? How much revenue will I be generating? How much profit will I be making? How many employees will work here to be able to deliver and to sell, deliver, and follow up on these services? What types of customers will I have? What will my life be like? So these are questions that you want to answer. Studies show that if you have a defined vision and you're taking action on it, you have a 300% better chance of achieving it. If you don't, it's just going to be dumb luck that gets you to the place you want to be. And if you think about it, it's common sense. Think about taking a vacation. Almost always you plan a vacation. Where are you going to go? How long? When are you going to go? Is it winter or summer? You count down the days to the departure date and you research the best prices for airfares, hotels, rental cars. You research what you're going to do when you get there, the best restaurants, golf courses, ski runs, hikes. You plan it all out in advance, and it almost always comes true because you're committed to getting there. How successful do you think your vacation would be if you just got up and went with no plans? Tomorrow, okay, I'm going on a vacation tomorrow. What will end up happening is it's going to cost more. It's going to be more stressful. You'll be out of control. Chances are you wouldn't do what you wanted to do. Now, some of you may think, but that's spontaneity, and spontaneity is good. And you know what? I think spontaneity is good, and sometimes it will serve you, but I'm talking about your business here, not your vacation. And if you really want something to happen, you have to have a clear and documented vision, and you have to put in place the plans to achieve that vision. And while it's important for your vision to be well defined, it also must be communicated and understood, not only to management, but to everyone in your organization. Because a vision, your destination, it's not just a goal. It brings purpose to your organization. So vision not only defines the destination, it's the reason or the purpose to come to work every day. Without the vision, what's the purpose for coming to work? You and your employees won't know why they're there other than just earning a wage and doing what they're told or not doing what they're told. They're just grinding it out. It's what we call the tyranny of routine. They have no purpose. You and they are just coming to work every day. If you think of two sports teams, and I'll use an NFL football metaphor for this analogy, let's say that we've got two teams and one team is focused on the goal. They're focused on the goal of winning the Super Bowl. The coach, the management, they talk about getting to and winning the big game. Before every practice, before every game, at every team meeting, they talk about what it's like to play in and win the Super Bowl. New players are recruited who've been on teams that have won that trophy, and they're given chances to actually share what their experience was like. They watch game tapes of teams achieving this goal. They share in the vision. The players, the coaches, the management, they all begin to feel what it's like to get there. And that feeling energizes a drive. Now they have this common purpose for all of their efforts. Compare that to another team who also practices hard, but they're just talking about how they love to play the game. They've got playbooks. They run their plays. They love the smell of the pigskin. They love the smell of the turf, the crunching of pads, the physical workout. But the coach and management, they don't have a vision. They don't talk about the prize. The reason they're all in this in the first place is to win the Super Bowl, but they don't really share that. They don't have a purpose. They just come to practice every day. Think about those two teams. Which team do you think has a better chance of winning the Super Bowl? So that said, you have a vision and a purpose. You still have to get good employees. And I say this because for those of you who have read the E-Myth Michael Gerber gives you this sense that you can just, if you have documented processes, then anybody will do. And I don't really concur with that. I think that you have to get good people. Even if you have fully documented operating procedures and every position in your company has a current job description, you still need good people to follow directions and do the work. There's another excellent business book written by Jim Collins. In his book, Good to Great, he writes that you've got to get good people on the bus. If you don't have good employees, if they don't want to go to the place you want to take them, this is important because that's the vision. If they don't want to go to the place you want to take them, if they don't believe and share in your purpose, then they can sabotage your efforts. And when Jim writes about getting good people on the bus, I think he's bringing up 3 key points. Employees need to fit your culture. Employees need to fit their position, the position for which you're hiring them. And employees need to want to go to the place where you want to take them. They have to also want that destination. And I'm going to share 3 examples, client examples with you. The first one then, employees need to fit your culture. Let's look at a culture of millennials versus a culture of baby boomers. For those of you on the call today who are in their mid to late 30s or younger, chances are you were brought up very differently than how your parents were brought up. And by that I mean if you played a sport, you probably got a trophy or a medal just for playing. You didn't have to win the championship to be rewarded. Parents of children in this age group typically lavish their children with encouragement and communication. I'm not judging this, I'm just saying what is. If most of your employees then are millennials, which will tend to define your culture as millennial, then you need to be conscious of this and you need to hire people who fit the culture. They don't necessarily have to be millennials. They just have to understand that the culture of your organization is characterized as millennial, and they have to believe that that is valuable. For example, I'm 58 years old. If my manager calls me into his office, what am I thinking? I think I'm in trouble, that I've done something wrong. On the other hand, a millennial expects to be called into their manager's office. They expect performance evaluations. They expect ongoing communication and encouragement. If you're a manager and you don't call a millennial into your office, they're thinking that they're not doing a good job. It's completely the opposite. They may even think that you're angry with them and possibly that your intention is to let them go. So it's key that everyone in your company understands your culture and that all new employees are compatible with that culture. Employees need to fit their position. I used to do cold calling. I hated cold calling. When I could afford it, once my business grew, I decided to hire a person to do the cold calling. That was my fatal assumption, and that is that I thought everyone was like me, that no one could possibly like cold calling. Well, first of all, when I hired that new employee, I didn't have a hiring process. I was busy. I was in a hurry. I put an ad out there. I interviewed a bunch of people as fast as I could, and I hired someone I liked, someone who was just like me. Well, what was I thinking? If I didn't like cold calling and I hired someone just like me, doesn't that mean that they aren't going to like cold calling? So I ended up sugarcoating the position. I told them they just needed to do it for 6 months or so, and then they'd become consultants. Well, after 6 months, and they were actually counting, they came to me and they asked if they could be a consultant, like I had promised. And of course, I couldn't make them a consultant because the business hadn't grown enough, because they were doing a lousy job at cold calling because they hated it. I had to fire them. I had to hire another person. I had to retrain the new employee. And I made the same mistake over and over again until I finally realized that not everyone is just like me, that some people are actually good at cold calling. I hired an employee to match the position, someone who didn't fold when they were rejected, because rejection is just part of the cold calling game. And they knew it was a numbers game. And finally, your employees, they need to want the destination. They need to want to go to where you want to take them. A new client of mine understood this concept so well. He was a small boutique law firm, but he had a very large vision. He wanted to grow to become a nationwide firm with hundreds of partners. The problem was he never told anybody about this vision. He'd never really formulated it in his own mind. It was really just this dream in his head. So he needed to hire a new legal secretary. He was just starting to grow, and he found this woman who just left a very large national firm. She'd had several years of experience, and he thought, perfect, just the right person. She knows how to run one of these big firms. So he hires her, but he never shared with her where he wanted to take the company. She does a great job, and several years later, just as the firm was starting to grow, she just ups and quits. It was sudden, and it had a big impact on him and his firm. In the exit interview, he asked her, why did you quit? Wasn't I treating you well? And she shared with him that she didn't like large law firms. She didn't like the bureaucracy. She didn't like how impersonal they were. In fact, she had quit the large law firm that she'd been with previously so she could join his small boutique firm, or so she thought it was. So employees need to know the destination well. They need to know it, and they need to want to get there. Can you see the value then of having a strategic plan, of having this clear and documented vision of where you want to be 5 to 7 years from now? What kind of culture you're going to have? What type of employees you're going to be hiring? What your organization structure will look like? Can you see what a better chance you will have if you've done this work? That it actually helps to communicate direction so you can hire and manage the best employees in the most efficient way. That they aren't going to quit because they don't want to be there. Can you see that it gives people a purpose for coming to work? They're on a path that you've gotten them excited about, and you're communicating the progress. You see, their efforts are going to push the ball forward towards the goal. It can't rely on you. So if I haven't convinced you of this, then there's not much point staying on this call. You should not be thinking about creating a vision and a plan because some consultant tells you it's a good idea, or because all of these business authors are all writing about it these days. You need to believe that it is absolutely necessary. Okay, so hopefully I've been able to land the value and the importance of having a strategic plan. In step number 2, I'm going to touch on how to create one. A strategic plan has 4 components: a documented vision, your purpose, your values, and your mission. The differences here are subtle, and some are part of the others, but I really like to break them down into these 4 components to make sure that all of the parts are always there. So first of all, your documented vision. This is a 1 to 2 page document that describes what your business is going to look like, hopefully, say 5 to 7 years from now. You could do 3, 4, or 5 years if you like. If it's too far in the future to say 5 or 7 years, then do 3. But 1 year is nothing more than a budget. So I like to say 5 to 7 years. What's it going to be like? The vision needs to answer those questions that I presented in one of the earlier slides. Things like, what products and services will you be offering? How much revenue will you be generating? How profitable will you be? How many employees will work there? What's your culture going to be? What types of customers will you serve? What will your life be like? Your purpose is the why of your business, why you do what you do. And often the why is part of the vision, but I think it's important to highlight it. Your values, they guide the way you operate within the business, how you act, your beliefs. And I'm going to go into examples of these in a moment. I just want to do a quick outline first. And then finally, your mission is this benchmark. We call it your BHAG, B-H-A-G, your big, hairy, audacious goal. And it must come with actionable strategies to help you achieve that big, hairy, audacious goal. So purpose and values, they're enduring. They last forever. It's who you are, not who you want to be. They're not an aspiration. They're an articulation of who you actually are. They rarely, if ever, change. On the other hand, your mission and your vision, these often shift and change as you understand and think more about your business. As you monitor your progress, you'll start learning things that will help you better shape and define your future. Your goals will become more realistic, and you'll understand what you need to do to achieve them. And while your mission is dynamic, it's also stable. In other words, the size and shape of your goals may change, but your strategic business model, the business you're in, it doesn't. Once you've documented your vision and defined your purpose, your value, and your mission, you create, delegate, and then monitor all of the strategies, all of the actions that will help you to achieve your vision. Okay, let's start with your vision. Your documented vision, it's a 1 to 2 page document that, again, it just describes what the business is going to look like 5 to 7 years from now. You create this document by answering a series of questions. Here's what the questions might look like. And again, if you're a TouchStone client, you can download the strategic target development procedure from the process library. Once you've put the process into your own TouchStone account, you can simply click on this on the form and answer these questions right in your question box. I'll show you this in a moment. For those of you who don't have a TouchStone account, I can send you this. You just write down the answers to as many of these questions as you can in as much detail as you can. This shouldn't take more than an hour. Then you take your answers to these questions and you put them together in this 1 to 2 page document. But the first step is to do your best to answer these questions. And they're all right here, annual size. You just try to think of anything and everything that you can think of. It's really it's a think tank session where you just start throwing anything and everything you can up to answer these questions. Once you've answered the questions, you want to organize this rough content into a 1 to 2 page document. This is not a business plan. The purpose of this exercise is to be concise. I want you to dream a little. I want you to come up with your cool idea, and I want you to write it down. Do not, I stress, do not make it more than 2 pages in length. Some of our clients, they take this document, they blow it up to poster size, they frame it, they put it in their office or their reception room so everyone can see it, and it helps everybody really remember where they are and where they want to go and why they're there. So we have a sample template that you can use. This is actually from the process library. You can open this template and start filling in the blanks with the content that you created in the first exercise of answering the questions. Now, by the way, I'm doing an overview of strategic planning. I can highly recommend that you hire a consultant who will guide you through a strategic planning process. That's not today's purpose. That is a 1 or 2 day process that goes into a lot of detail. It is so much easier when someone is assisting you with this. And in fact, I think we have several of the consultants on this call. Scott Fritz, Tim Fitzgerald, Mark Watson might be here from Hawaii. Gail Boyd, I think Gail registered for this presentation. I'm not actually looking at everybody on who's online. John Harrison, and there may be others. I apologize if I've missed mentioning your name. But if you're looking for a consultant to help you with this process, and I highly recommend it, please send me an email, or I can look to see who you are, and I can recommend a consultant to help you with this. Once you've got that content, you write it into a story that describes your company, and we actually have some samples in the TouchStone account. If you have a TouchStone account, let's in fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually show you, because a lot of the people on today's calls are TouchStone users. I'm going to actually toggle over to TouchStone. And what you would want to do is you'd want to come into this key function, guiding the business. You may have renamed it to strategy and management. This is fine. Select that, come up to the process library and select general processes. And by the way, if anybody here doesn't have a TouchStone account, take me up on this free offer to try one, and you can just do exactly what we're doing here. I'm recording this, by the way, so you can watch it again and follow my instructions. What you want to do is you want to scroll down here to the S's. All of the processes here will be in alphabetical order, and put a check mark beside the 2 processes, strategic planning and strategic target development, and then click Save. And it will download these 2 processes into your TouchStone account. Let's just actually go into the strategic target development process. What you would probably want to do is open up this form here, strategic target questions. Just click in this box, and you would want to start answering the questions in this box. So you might come in here and you say, we will be a software company delivering web-based software application to B as well as to consultants who work B2B. You just start answering these questions. What are your growth size? What are your annual sales? What are your profitability? Again, this is what you're shooting for 5 to 7 years from now. As a team, you can sit down and do this, but typically we suggest that the owners of the company do this. If you have a couple of partners, sit down and build this vision, answer these questions. Once you've done this, you can just go down to the bottom and save it. And this is really good to sort of save your answers, because it's really interesting to go back a year later and look to see what it was that you did. And then you'll come to this strategic target template, and you will actually view this file and download it. You'll pop it open, and then you'll just start filling in the blanks here. So, you might come in here and you say the future vision of Business Design Corporation. And let's say this is going to be 2023. Business Design Corporation has been successful in da-da-da-da. We just go through this whole process, and when we're done, we save it, and we save it as our strategic target. And let me just save it to my desktop, and then we would come back into TouchStone, and we would upload that file, our strategic target, and we would choose the file, and then I would hit create file, and that will take that Word file and actually put it up into my TouchStone account so that I have it there later on. So now you'll see it's right here, our strategic target, and I would probably stick it there, and I might even get rid of these other 2 files there. That's step 1. There's another process that I think is great to download, and that's the other one that I showed you here, the strategic planning process. And you'll notice that there are a series of work plans here. I'm going to take you through each of these work plans, because this is how to implement your strategic plan, and I think this is really critical. First thing I recommend is that you click this link and watch the video. Once you've watched that video, just go through these 5 steps, and each one of these is a work plan over here. So the first step is to create a vision. And I've already discussed this, but this is where you're going to go through and you're going to develop your purpose, value, and mission. You will find examples of a purpose, of value. So for example, here's a sample purpose. Remember, the purpose is why. Why do you exist? Why does your business exist? And here we have to create a technology that makes process development and implementation easy for business owners, as well as professionals who are consulting with business owners, such that small businesses can flourish and thrive. This is our purpose. I just give it to you as an example of this. Let me share with you how we came up with this why. When I started thinking of my why, it started out as, I want to make a difference in the world, right? And I can't imagine that almost everybody in the call says that when, why do you exist? Well, I want to do good, or I want to make a difference in the world. Well, I started to explore this, and when I was younger, many of you who know me on the call, you'll have a chuckle about this, but I wanted to be a movie star or a rock star. I thought of that, and I thought, why did I want that? And it wasn't about the money. That wasn't my issue. It was because I thought that they had a lot of influential power. I mean, look at Bono, the lead singer for U2. This guy, he carries a lot of clout. But I realized pretty quickly that I really didn't want to be Bono, but I still wanted to make a difference. I was really interested in business and the mechanics of business, like sales, leadership, management, things like that. Business to me seemed very formulaic, and I loved all these formulas. Well, I also realized that entrepreneurs, they spend most of their lives at work, or at least thinking about work, and they don't really want to be. They started their business to be more in control of their time, and they start losing control of their time. Some lose their families as a result of this, and some people even lose their lives. I found this study, I can't cite it immediately, but that like there's a high mortality risk to entrepreneurs. So I sort of married the two, my knowledge and love about business mechanics and finding a place that stressed out and consumed a lot of people, that being their business. And I figured out that if I could bring my knowledge to entrepreneurs, I might be able to make a difference in their lives. And just knowing that I was able to touch one person's life and make a difference, that's it. That's amazing. And we've done that. It is so incredibly rewarding to achieve your why, but you got to define it first. So if we scroll down, values, I spoke a little bit about values earlier. How do you go, how do you go about doing business? What do you hold sacred? Now, again, this may already be part of your vision document, but it's helpful to have these 6 to 10 values front and center. Instead of having them buried in text, have a copy of them and post them. Make sure everyone knows them and remembers them. These are our values here. We empower entrepreneurs. We do what we say we will do. We listen, we care, we serve. We practice open and real communication. For those of you who have worked with me, you know that I don't hold back. I give my clients tough love. We face challenges with optimism. There's a great saying that every customer complaint is an opportunity. Every problem in your business is an opportunity. We check our egos at the door here. We innovate and constantly improve. We do the right thing. Whenever there's a question, we say, is it the right thing to do? And we believe in people and in their dreams. We've just found that these values, this is who we are. By the way, you can edit these. You can use these. Usually we recommend having a list of 5 to 10. And we suggest keeping them as a list. So it's a little bit different than the vision document, even though these may be in your vision document. And finally, your mission, this benchmark, this goal. Your mission, it's short. It's not your vision document, but it usually includes elements from the vision document, like total revenues, total number of clients, profitability. They might be part of your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal. It's always measurable. And in your strategic planning sessions, and we're not going to get into that in this presentation, we're going to touch on it, but you're going to create and implement actionable strategies for achieving this big, hairy, audacious goal. You will find that you will adjust your mission as you do more strategic planning and learn more about the metrics of your business. Whereas your purpose and values, those are like rock solid guiding forces. Your vision and mission are reviewed and adjusted annually at a minimum. As you monitor your progress, you're going to be learning things that will help you better define and shape your future. Your goals will become more realistic, and you'll understand what you need to do to achieve them. And while your mission is dynamic, it's also stable. In other words, the size and shape of your goals may change, but your strategic business model, the business you're in, does not. So once you've defined your mission, you create, delegate, and monitor strategies to achieve it. Let's actually look at the next plan here, because I think this is really critical. Meeting rhythm. This really picks up where I just left off on making these things actionable. What we're focusing here today is on an implementable strategic planning process. This really isn't about creating the actual vision. This process is about how to take action and implement that strategic plan that your consultant helped you to create. If you don't take action on it, it's just a bunch of hot air. This is a process that will help you turn goals into achievements. And this is a great part of this process. The meeting rhythm describes how to take big picture strategy and drill it down into weekly actionable steps. And we make some recommendations on types of meetings. First of all, we recommend an annual meeting. We typically recommend 2 full days, but you can do whatever you want. You could make it 1 full day. Typically, we recommend that you go off-site for this, that you get a really fun, enjoyable place. Go to Hawaii, do your annual planning meeting in Hawaii, or rent a really cool place on the bay or something like that, a penthouse suite with a beautiful conference table in it and a whiteboard. Spend 2 days and just bang out all of the things that you've got to do. So you've got this big, hairy, audacious goal. Now what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what you're going to do this year, this coming year, to push the ball forward. We've actually got sample agendas that you can use for these meetings. So I'll get to this in a minute, but if some of you are thinking, well, gosh, 2 days, what am I going to do over 2 days? Got lots of content that you can put into those 2-day meetings and a really full-fledged structure for you. At the end of this, you really want to come away with 2 deliverables. You want to come away with 3 to 5 annual priorities. So what are the 3 to 5 high-level things that are going to happen, the big picture things that are going to happen this year? And you want to come away, you're actually also doing you see down here where it says quarterly planning meeting, 1 full day? Well, in your annual planning meeting, it's also going to probably be your quarterly planning meeting, your Q1 quarterly planning meeting too. So you want to come away with what are the 3 to 5 really high-level, big picture priorities that we want to get done this year. And given that, what do we have to do in the first quarter such that we can achieve that by the end of the year? For example, if one of your high-level priorities might be grow the business by 35%, that would be an annual priority. It's a pretty big picture. In fact, if you look at grow the business by 35%, how the heck are you going to do that? Well, that's what happens to a lot of these goals. They're too big picture, and so people don't act on them. So this is how you act. So you have a quarterly planning meeting, and as I said, your Q1 will probably happen in here. Take that big picture, the priorities from the annual planning meeting, and you want to break them down into 4 parts, one for each quarter. And you want to come up with quarterly priorities. So you're thinking what needs to happen in the next quarter to be able to achieve the bigger picture annual objectives. As an example, if that annual goal is to grow the business by 35%, you might have a Q1 priority of say, generating, we got to generate X number of leads, as well as improve our training processes so that we can handle these new sales most effectively. So those might be 2 different quarterly priorities, 2 of your 3 or 5, and you're only going to work on those 2 things this quarter. But you can see how it's part of your bigger annual big picture process. Again, in the quarterly meeting, you're working on what needs to happen in the next quarter to fulfill that objective of the annual goal. In the monthly meeting, and again, we recommend take a half a day, no interruptions, no cell phones on, no texting. Just take half a day. And if you go to to the expectations down here, I think we actually say that these meetings are a priority. Shut off cell phones. Don't check email. Tell family, friends, and coworkers you're going to be unplugged. Be completely committed to each other as a team as you go through each planning session. Who should attend? What are these meetings used for? There's certain expectations that we've got down here. In the monthly meeting, now you're starting to look at the quarterly priorities, and you're thinking what needs to happen this month to be able to achieve what we want to achieve in this quarter. So again, you're taking these big picture ideas, drilling it down into quarters, then drilling it down into months. And in the monthly meetings, you're starting to get more and more tactical. So continuing our example, if that annual goal is to grow your business by 35%, and the Q1 priority is to generate X number of leads in the monthly meeting, you'll start talking about implementing maybe a new advertising process. And then you go weekly, you're getting even deeper, you're drilling down even deeper. What's going to happen that week to be able to achieve what I want to achieve for the month? So if I'm in charge for the month to implement a new, say, paid advertising campaign in LinkedIn, my goal for the week might be to come up with a new advertisement and a landing page that will drive new leads into a lead conversion nurturing sequence. That's all I'm going to focus on. And then I will track the results and come back to the next weekly meeting with a report of the results. So here's the landing page I did, and I launched it on Wednesday, and in the last 3 days, we've generated this number of leads. And you might even have daily huddles. Daily huddles are checking in on weekly objectives. Now, in these weekly and monthly meetings, we're talking about a documented process. Someone needs to actually document a process, for example, on how to create and manage the LinkedIn pay-per-click advertising campaign, how to create the ad, how to create the landing page, how to determine the return on investment for the ad. So these are actual processes that you would document. In TouchStone, you'd think, well, which key function would this go in? It would probably be a sales process. So you would add a new process called LinkedIn advertising. Probably put it in marketing, and then you would actually create the process and start writing work plans for how to create the ad. So you'd open it up and you'd probably create a work plan for how to create an ad. And you might have another work plan for how to monitor an ad. We've got the annual, the quarterly, and the monthly meetings. You've got this vision created. You've got sample agendas. Let's look at these sample agendas because I think they're helpful too. So we've actually got two types of agendas. We've got the agenda for annual and quarterly meetings, and we've got an agenda for weekly and monthly planning meetings. I'm not going to go into the detail of these. Suffice to say that these are great. They really help you plan your meetings. This then, in summary, is the first step in your strategic planning process to clearly understand what the near future is going to look like and then to take action on it in this meeting rhythm to make it happen. So without a vision, again, you don't know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, no one else in the company does either. If you have at least an inkling of where you're headed, but you haven't written it down and shared it with your people, then even though you might have a dream or an idea of what you wish to achieve, no one else knows about it. So everyone's just coming to work. They don't have a purpose. And again, once you've written your strategic plan, you want to take the steps to actually establish a set of short-term goals with planned and delegated activities for achieving these goals so that you can stay on course towards achieving your vision. And then you'll put in place what we call the meeting rhythm to make it happen. One of the people on the call was asking about Jim Collins's book. I mentioned it was called Good to Great. This is another one. I highly recommend this one too. In fact, you can get this book and just read chapter 2. It's called Beyond Entrepreneurship. And almost everything that I've talked about today is really well presented in the second chapter of this book. Okay, so we're on the final stretch. Hopefully I've landed the value of having a strategic plan, and I've taken the mystery out of how to create one. And now that you've got one, how do you use it? Well, if your company's not a startup and you have existing employees, you're going to use your strategic plan to get everyone on the same page, as well as to go find who's not on the same page. It's this whole idea of the Super Bowl metaphor I used earlier. There may be some players, some employees in your organization that do not want to go to where you want to take them. And in these cases, a meeting has to happen. And there may be some instances where some of these employees need to go because they will be a cancer in your organization. Everybody needs to be pushing for the same goal. We call this meeting the corporate development meeting for employees. And depending on your style and your company's size, this meeting, it may be an hour in length or maybe a few hours in length followed by some social time. I actually had a company once who used to rent a hall, and they used to have a dinner and celebrations and hand out awards, and they did it quarterly. We recommend that you do this annually at a minimum. Quarterly was pretty often, but annually you'll have this meeting, and it might just be, if you're a small company with 5 or 6 or 7 employees, it might be an hour long. It's a mandatory meeting. In the meeting, you're going to share the work you've been doing creating your strategic plan. You're going to roll out this vision you have for the company. This is especially in the first one, but each time you do this, you're going to roll out revisions to your vision. You're going to share your why. You're going to share your purpose. You're going to state the company's values. And hopefully everybody wants to be on the same page. You've sort of sussed out everybody who's not wanting to be there, and they shouldn't be at this meeting. They should be gone by now. Everybody's going to start getting excited. You want to make sure that you share your big, hairy, audacious goal. You want to inspire your people with the opportunities ahead of them. Usually there's a Q&A period towards the end of the meeting, and we recommend suggesting some very specific corporate development activities that everyone can expect in the near term. Things like focusing on getting procedures written, getting processes documented, getting more clarity on roles and responsibilities, doing performance evaluations, executing that meeting rhythm that you're testing. Show them about it. Talk to them about daily huddles, weekly meetings. Talk to them about establishing and tracking key performance indicators and quarterly priorities. In addition to the corporate development meeting for employees, you're going to want to use your strategic plan during the hiring and the onboarding process so that every new employee understands and is comfortable and even excited about your company's culture, the position that you're hiring them for, and your destination, your vision, where you want to take them. It's all a part of hiring procedure so that you can be certain that every new employee is going to be a good fit for the organization. And again, we've got these processes in TouchStone in the library. So for those of you who have TouchStone accounts, you might want to go up into the process library and bring down company development meetings, recruiting process, behavioral interview, new employee onboarding. These are some great processes. They're just up here. You go into the general process library and pull them down, and we've got them written out with sample guidelines and uploaded files and forms to fill in. It's all fairly laid out, and you can just take those and edit them. And then finally, you want to track and monitor your progress. You're going to use your strategic plan to actually track, monitor, and communicate progress. If you simply create this vision and then do nothing about it, you're just blowing smoke. You've got to monitor your progress, and you've got to communicate the progress to everyone in the company so that they can see their purpose is being fulfilled. And we make it pretty easy, I think. In the strategic planning process, I've got a sample down in here. You know what? I think I erased it all. You actually put all of your content in a form. You just open up this form and you put your annual priorities in. You put all of your content in here so you can actually track what's happening. That completes the presentation I wanted to do on how to create and implement a strategic plan. If you're interested, if you want to, there's a couple of ways that you can follow up and get this content. I have recorded this, so I'll be sending these slides out to everybody who's here today. But if you want this documentation, more information on it, one of the things you can do is you can, down here you see it says text strategy. If you've got a cell phone, so this is a really fun process, everybody. So go ahead and text strategy to this number, 707-800-3603, if you've got a cell phone handy. If you text the word strategy, you'll see one of our processes that we do with alliances when they have clients who are interested in TouchStone. You can also email me. My email address is mmills@businessdesigncorp.com. You can call me. This is my direct line, 707-522-6253. And you can visit us on the web at www.businessdesigncorp.com. We've got tons of content on the web. Feel free to have a look and visit us on the web. I like to end on this slide. Having a plan for the future is a really good plan for the future. I want to thank everybody for attending today's presentation. I hope it's been a valuable experience and that you'll be able to put to use what you've learned today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Again, it's Michael Mills. My email address is mmills@businessdesigncorp.com. You can visit us on the web at www.businessdesigncorp.com or feel free to call us. My number again is 707-522-6253. We just have a ton of free offers and a lot of content on our site to help you grow and develop your business into a satisfying and reliable enterprise. Thank you for watching, everybody.